In ancient times, during the Roman Empire's occupation of Israel, the Roman authorities put out a warrant for the arrest and subsequent execution of the venerable Jewish leader and sage, Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. His crime? Criticizing the regime. They build marketplaces to house prostitutes, bathhouses to pamper themselves, and bridges to oppressively tax the populace, he said, and that's a direct quote. Rebbe Shimon was not one to mince words. The Roman Empire didn't exactly have a First Amendment guaranteeing free speech, hence the warrant, hence the death penalty, and Rebbe Shimon fled into hiding. He grabbed his son, and they hid in the local study hall. His wife brought them food, but for a learned rabbi, a study hall wasn't exactly the best hideout. Worse, he was concerned the authorities, who were the opposite of nice people, would torture his wife in a vain attempt to discover his whereabouts. So he left, and together with his son, searched for a better place to hole up. They ended up in a cave in the middle of nowhere, and that's where they sat for 12 years. They survived, miraculously, only because of a small stream that provided water and a carob tree that grew near the mouth of the cave. In those days, clothes were much harder to come by, especially if you were a fugitive on the run. So Rebbe Shimon and son only wore their clothes for prayer. The rest of the time, they buried themselves waist-high in sand and spent their days and nights studying the deepest, most esoteric mysteries of Jewish spirituality. At the end of 12 years, miraculously, word got to them that the emperor had died and that, as a result, the decree against them had been lifted. They left the cave and wandered off into the fields. Now, you don't sit in a cave like Rebbe Shimon and son, immersed in the deepest levels of study, without it having a, well, profound effect. Their minds and souls were blasted off into another world, learning the secrets of the universe, surfing waves of spirituality we can only dream of, and they just weren't ready to come back down. In fact, the sight of regular people, busy with their lives, dealing with the banalities of the physical world, like working for a living, for them was a bit too much. They couldn't handle it. Rabbi Shimon said, "These people are abandoning eternal spiritual life for their temporal needs?" He set his gaze on the field, and boom! It burst into flames. Then, standing amidst the smoldering wreckage, they heard a voice emanate from beyond. "Did you leave the cave to destroy my world?" Oops. Returned to the cave. And they did. They sat there for another year, which, they figured, was long enough to internalize the message, fix their mistake, and reacclimate to the physical world. After 12 months, another voice emanated from the beyond. "Go out from the cave." They wandered back into the fields, but Rebbe Shimon's son still couldn't take it. He looked at the ground and set it ablaze. But this time his father reconsidered. He had learned a lot since the last episode, a year ago. He looked at the burning field and somehow repaired the damage his son had done. "My son," he said, "the two of us studying these esoteric wonders is enough for the world. We suffice. Leave everyone else alone." And with that, they re-entered society. Late one Friday afternoon, before sunset, they bumped into a man running home. It was almost dusk and time for the Sabbath to begin. The man was carrying 2 myrtle branches. "What's with the branches?" they asked. "I'm bringing them home in order to enjoy their fragrance on the Sabbath," he said. "Isn't one enough?" they asked. "One branch is in honor of the things you do on the Sabbath, the positive aspects like sanctifying the day. The other is in honor of rest, which the day is famous for." Rebbe Shimon and son were blown away. Wow. Even the simplest person, they realized, were holy. Their minds were put at ease with the awareness that spirituality permeates everything. And at some level, everyone has the potential to see it.